So right now it's early morning in Arkansas. The sun hasn't quite overcome the horizon yet. We're headed up to the car right now just to see what we can get done in a day. I got big plans, so let's see what we can get on film. Hey everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Bumpy Road Show, but today's not like the rest of them. So as you can tell, I had big plans for it, but this morning isn't like the rest of them. Right now we're going to try to recover from this fire. It was a catastrophic incident, and I was actually in school during the time this happened, and it was about May 11th at 11 a.m. and right then I was in my study hall period, and so I wasn't able to realize any of this happened. I was just going through my day as normal, and then it hit me as soon as I walked outside. My dad hugged me and he said, it's gone. And obviously it's pretty discouraging for a kid to expect his little red show car, well, it was to me, not there in the parking lot as he came into it. So this is what we have right now. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is my dad, and we're going to be interviewing him today because he was actually there when the fire happened. So why don't you recall the events real quick?
Well, I was at the library doing research on that one day that you were in school. I think it was May the 11th, if I remember correctly. And it was quite interesting because a lady came up to me and she said, "Do you drive a red car?" And I said, "No," instinctively. And I thought for a second. I went, "Well, actually, today I do." And she said, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, what's happened? Somebody's hit his car, the emergency brake cut loose and it rolled into someone." She said, "Sir, your car's on fire." And I'm thinking, okay, it's smoking. So I get up and I go to the parking lot of a library. And lo and behold, I see all of this black smoke. I see firefighters. I see the fire marshal. I see all of these people circling around this car with hoses, and my heart just went up into my throat. I was almost strangled. I couldn't speak. I couldn't think. I was in total shock. So here are some photographs of what I saw. Unfortunately, my brain wasn't working fast enough due to the shock to take videos, but I did get a couple of still shots, and accidentally one little 3-second video of the fire marshal showing me where the fire started. According to him, it started somewhere in the fuse box, which was good for us to know. Ironically, I had been, I've had so many people tell me what actually happened that have no idea what they're talking about. I've heard, the gas lines broke loose and caught on fire or whatever. The car hadn't been driven for over an hour and a half. It had been maybe almost 2 hours that the car had been sitting in the parking lot. So in investigation, because I wanted to know what caused the fire. My son is driving the car, and I want to know. I have other sobs and want to know what could have caused this. So I went to the people that I know and that I trust, and the best conclusion we could come up with is that the car was made in 1986. Saab at that time was, and for a very brief history, I think from late 84 all the way through to early to mid 86, they were experimenting with wiring harnesses made from soy material or biodegradable organic material. And this causes actually two problems. One problem it causes with rodents who like to chew into that wiring harness for food. And secondly, it degrades after a certain period of time. And that's why an 85 900 is so much cheaper than the rest, because the wiring harness is just a bear to take out of another car and reinstall into an 85. So they traditionally have this problem. So we concluded that there was some faulty wiring inside the fuse box. We concluded that probably because of the heat outside, I think it was 80 something degrees that afternoon, this was back in May, that the fans came on. They pull about 15 to 20 amps, and that it was pulling enough amperage which allowed a short somehow in that wiring in the fuse box, or that maybe there was a problem with the relay wiring. Something inside a relay, which is very, very, very unusual. But based on what the fire marshal had explained to us as to where the fire started, that's the only two conclusions that we were able to come up with.
So what was it like to relay that information to a kid? Like what toll does that have on a parent?
I'm laughing now. I wasn't laughing then. I've never had to deliver worse news. The only thing I can think of worse delivering that news to you would be that someone in the family's gone. I know, as our friend Demi used to say, they're all a piece of shit, and you funnily said one time, but that's my piece of shit and I love it. I certainly have my own, so I can appreciate that. That has to be one of the most difficult moments. I remember the time getting closer and closer for me to pick you up from school, and how that lump just stayed in my throat and how hard it was. And I remember sitting on the bench right in front of the door to school, and I'm watching you walk out looking everywhere to see your car. And I had tears welled up in my eyes. I remember even now, and I still choke up just a little bit thinking about it. But I remember having to tell you and trying to fight to find the words to say that your red car wasn't alive anymore. And of course, at that time, my first instinct was the car's gone, it's totaled, it's burned, and it's done, and it's not ever going to live again. Fire is just catastrophic to the metal. It's catastrophic to the wiring. It's catastrophic to so many things. It's very, very difficult to recover from a car that's caught on fire. And it really was painful to have to face you, to look you in the eyes and say, while in my care, your precious piece of shit's destroyed.
So after seeing what happened to the car, what were your aspirations with it? Did you think it was irreparable, or did you think you could do it? What was your idea?
Well, at first sight, and again, you can see the picture here. I mean, you look at that and you go, there's no way we come back from this. After seeing your reaction, I remember thinking, I've got to figure something out here. We can get another car. And I remember talking to you about buying another one, and you said, no, I love that one. I don't want another car. That's my car. And the weight of the world, of course, as a parent who loves his kid, is on my shoulders. And I remember starting to talk to people that I know and trust. Demi was my first consultant on that, and I think that he had a large hand in reversing my appreciation for where we were, or my understanding from where we really were, as he started asking me questions. He was like, well, if you take everything out of the car, what's left? And I'm thinking, okay, metal. And he said, so we get a new wiring harness and we start over. That's a 1986 SPG, and those are rare, so we're not going to let that car die, right? And the way that he asked the question, I'm like, he's got that gravelly voice, and he's got that bit of personality that only a charming Greek guy like Demi could have. I mean, there was no other answer but like, yeah, okay, we can do that. And so we started talking through, and I'm thinking about the metal, and he's like, what's going to have to be cut out? And I started investigating, and I looked, and I realized that it's only the fender that needs to be cut out. And he said, okay, so we need a new fender. So we can do this. And I'm like, what about the wiring harness? He said, you can find a wiring harness. So, in searching, I've actually found a couple that were relatively accessible to me. And he's like, everything else is no big deal. He said, that fire didn't hurt the engine, it's fine. And he said, you've got some damage to your dash, and we can get a new dash, and we can, do this, and we can do that. And I started to think about it, and as I'm thinking about this, there's nothing that we needed to do really that I haven't done in one form or fashion before. Admittedly, I've never cut a fender off of a Saab before, and it is a specific procedure, but I know people who have, and I know who to talk to. I know where to get guidance, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we can do this. So one thing leads to another, and the next thing, you know, we have a full commitment, and that commitment really starts in your mind and in your soul that you can do it. It is achievable. The obstacles are not that great, and you start taking one step, and then you've taken two, and then you realize there's been 10, and you're a mile down the road already. So we're now out shopping for parts cars and trying to find donors for the different things that we feel like we need to solve this problem. I'm speaking with friends who are able to help out with certain parts that we've needed. And things start to show up, things start to materialize, and I've got Demi whispering in my ear, hey, this is no big deal, we got this. And so, you know, he assured me that this car, that he would provide me the knowledge and what we need to accomplish this feat, and that it could be done, and it could be done within my own skill set. That was huge.
So after everything, what's next?
Well, at this point, I think that we need to pull the motor out. We need to strip the engine bay. We need to strip the suspension that's collapsed on the driver's side. Might as well strip the passenger suspension. We'll rebuild all of the suspension first. We start with the wiring harnesses and get those back in place. We've got to sand, and before the wiring harnesses, obviously, we need to sand and repaint the engine bay and refinish under the wheel wells. I'm sure that we'll use something like POR 15 where the car has been exposed to fire, just to seal the metal from any potential corrosion. It has corroded, so we'll sand all of that down with a machine sander first, and then seal it, and then paint it, and then we start to put it back together.
Some people might just see this fire as an isolated incident within the Saab community, but these things do happen. I mean, these are old cars, people get in crashes. I mean, sometimes these damages are irreparable and sometimes you can't save them, but what happens if you can? This right here is my dad's 1984 Saab 900, and almost like my car, it came out of the same ashes. Now, when I say ashes, I don't mean that it was necessarily burnt like my car, but it came out of the same redemption process, much like a phoenix. For those of you who have been following this channel for a while, you've seen my dad's car in this state before, and I bring it back up to you guys to show you that our cars are different in many ways, but in one likeness, potential is something they share. So sometimes these damages can unfortunately be irreparable, but you know, this car mixed with the charismatic convincing of a trusted and long-term mentor, it can be possible. So what's next is kind of a difficult question to ask in this scenario. There's a lot we have to do, starting with getting everything that was burnt inside, outside of the car. We have to worry about a brand new paint job because, believe it or not, this isn't going to work up well in the next Saab convention. We have to fix these mirrors, we have to strip these fenders and fix this paint. Everything needs to be redone, rebuilt, almost like it's a brand new factory car. So we're gonna take you through that process. And well, to be honest, as heartbreaking as it was for a kid like me to lose his car like that, I'm pretty inspired. I get to learn a lot of new things on the way and hopefully make some new friends. So I'm glad to take y'all on this adventure with me. Hey everyone, I just wanted to cut back to the chair here to just say thank you so very much for encouraging me through this year, getting me started on my YouTube channel, and for those of you who comment and critique my videos just so I can deliver the best content possible. It means the world, and I really do enjoy delivering these videos as a side hobby of a big hobby that I have of restoring this car, and not to mention that it's going to be easy in any way, but it's actually going to be the hardest things I've done, and for all intents and purposes, it would make one hell of a sob story. And I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody, Happy Holidays, and I'm looking forward to this new year to let the phoenix rise.
All right.
So it's early morning in Arkansas right now. The sun hasn't quite quite. Hey everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Bump.
Another?